Split in Two is pretty good, but I might be looking into it too deeply. This is the Marvin flag gag from the 17th episode of the first season of Looney Tunes cartoons, and of course, considering the whole thing is only about a minute, there will definitely be spoilers from now as I talk about what happens. And as always, with the Marvin flag gags, he walks up to the front of the screen, plants his flag, and declares the planet in the name of Mars. And almost as soon as he has planted the flag and declared the planet, a tiny, tiny crack appears. And needless to say, this crack doesn't remain a small crack for very long, and it gets quite catastrophic. And you can definitely see the rising panic in Marvin's, well, I was going to say in his face. His facial expressions are certainly very interesting, mostly with his eyes, of course. And in his voice, you can hear it. And I think the crack looked great. The way it developed, the way it grew, really thoroughly enjoyed it. It definitely became an absolute catastrophe. A nice little short, self-contained story. Not a bad Marvin flag gag at all. The animation is great. The concept is simple but very effective. No complaints. I rather liked it. Now, the reason I think I might have been thinking about this too deeply is because when I was watching this, my first thought was, well, maybe not my first thought, but certainly one of my thoughts was, who knows if this could happen? We go to other planets, or we send technology up there to other planets, and we have no idea what kind of impact that is going to have. Now, I'm not suggesting that we are about to make an entire planet crumble, but the point there is that while scientists can obviously have a pretty good idea of what things are like on these planets, we don't know the reality because they're completely different to where we live. And it just makes me think that one day we could do some pretty serious damage. I'm not saying we shouldn't go to other planets. I think knowledge is great and it's important to learn about other planets and hopefully one day find some interesting life form on there, whether it's an animal or anything like that. I don't have any strong opinions on whether that's the case. But the point there is that I don't necessarily think we should completely avoid space exploration. But I do think that we should maybe be more mindful about things we're putting out into the atmosphere and indeed when we have contact with planets, because you never know what damage it could do because we just don't know. Again, we could have a good idea, or scientists could have a good idea. I have no idea. But maybe one day a human will make it to another planet and they might put some sharp object like the edge of a pole onto the planet's surface and it could cause a lot of problems. So let us learn from Marvin that while we can learn, we should definitely proceed with caution. I know some people are very, very passionate about how much damage we're doing just by putting things into space, which I think is really fascinating. I'm not knowledgeable enough to really have a strong opinion on that. If anybody has any thoughts on that, please feel free to share. But the point is, I definitely think I'm overanalyzing it. But this was really one of my main thoughts with this, is that this seems like it could actually happen. Most of the Marvin flag gags are kind of silly and really good fun, but not realistic. But this one, who knows? Let's hope it never happens, but you never know. Either way, as a short cartoon, Split in Two was definitely enjoyable, and it certainly made me think.